We're now on to match one. After we've just done our deck tech, we win the die roll, and we're going to open on a pretty weak hand. It's very likely this should have been a mulligan. We have no ways of filtering our draws, although we do have a misstep and a mana drain, neither of which will be enough to save us if we're against shops. And even if we're against a blue deck, we don't really have a lot going on at the moment. On the flip side, I think given enough time, we can probably end up hard casting a Blightsteel Colossus. The hard part is going to be getting that time. And our opponent knows, and now knows that we're actually fully shields down, or very close to. And so I think at some point we should actually be playing out maybe the Mana Crypt and the Mox along with the Academy to represent a hardcast force. Our opponent hasn't seen our most recent draw. And we can finally find out what our opponent's on. Forbidden Orchard tends to indicate Oath, as does Dak Faden. Oath tends to like drawing through as much of their library as they can to find whatever the missing combo piece is, whether or not that's the Orchard or the Oath of Druids itself. And we're in a really bad spot now. Dak's arrived. Once Dak has arrived, we can wind up very far behind very quickly. We should be playing out the Academy and the Mox here, I think. But from memory, yeah, we only play out the Mox. We're going to attack. We should really be attacking. No, we need to attack our opponent with the Spirit token here. The reason being, a single Spirit token isn't going to be enough to take down Dak. We're also going to try. Our opponent's already used a Force of Will, so we've got to hope they don't have more interaction, because we're going to try and stick a Notion Thief in front of them next time they Dak. We're a little more confident than normal in doing this as well, as our opponent's also just pitched 2 Punishing Fires. So they're on Punishing Oath. And now the Notion Thief has arrived. We're starting to look pretty good. And our opponent concedes, so that's fair enough. From here, we're going to cut the Blightsteel and the Mana Crypt and a basic land. And I think an Abrade and a Vampiric Tutor. And we're just going to cut a basic island because it's basically an easy free cut. So we cut Blightsteel and Mana Crypt because if they're on Oath, we are going to want to stick a Grafdigger's Cage, which makes it a lot harder to get a Blightsteel into play. Secondly, an early Blightsteel, which might otherwise win us the game, can end up resulting in something like an Emrakul hitting the board, which is just pretty shocking for us. We cut the VT because it's card disadvantaged, and the Abrade because they don't necessarily have quite so many artifacts that we care about. And we're going to open on... It's an okay 7, it's fine. Although we really want to resolve top here. I think we'd come very close to Force of Willing. No, okay, so I think we can lead on Cage to try to bait a misstep. Okay, we're going to lead on top to bait the misstep so we can resolve the Cage next turn then by the looks of it. I can't help but wonder if the top might have been better for us, given we can use the top to find a second land, get down a voltaic key, and then we can use top plus key to draw an extra card a turn. And our opponent's dropping Blood Sun, which is a card I've never seen in Vintage before. Definitely an interesting choice. I'm not sure what they're hoping to achieve with the Blood Sun. I feel like Vintage is a little lighter on fetch lands than, say, Modern or Legacy anyway. And also I think we see enough extra cards that fetch lands they're important for fueling Delve, but I feel like we can get around them. We're going to play out the Voltaic Key in the hope that we can at some point draw a second land, draw a Mana Crypt, play the Mana Crypt naturally. Or even just draw a couple of extra lands and tinker away the cage for the crypt. For the Time Vault, not the Mana Crypt. Okay, we found our second land now. So our opponent's Blood Sun is yet to do any work on us. Okay, and there goes the Emrakul. So we didn't get a misread on them, which is almost a concern by now, given how little has actually happened. And they were indeed on Oath. Now here we have to choose what to discard. I feel like we should mana drain this. And our opponent almost definitely has to force this. So here we actually, I think we shouldn't have pitched the Tinker, as the Tinker gave us an easy win for next turn. So I think we just missed a line there. We should have just straight up jammed. Yeah, so we should have just pitched force to force, and then I think tinkered away our cage next turn. Not that it would have mattered. Our opponent managed to have a fairly stacked hand, and we're both pretty burnt out. And we have a useless Yawgmoth's Will in hand right now. And we have to force the DAC. And I think it's worth bottoming both of these. I have a feeling... Okay, so I think I missed something there and I should have bottomed the jet. We kept the jet to cast a Yawgmoth's Will, but a Yawgmoth's Will isn't going to do anything. The reason we should have bottomed the Force is because we need a blue card to go with it, or we need more mana. So at the moment we're constrained on resources, and what we really need to be finding is a card to get ahead, to start being able to draw back up to hand size. So that can be a Jace would be great, an Ancestral. Given a little bit of time, a dig would be, speaking of, a dig would be nice. Okay, and now the Blood Sun is actually starting to do something to us. So it's now starting to pinch us on mana. So we're not playing out the lands here just because we don't have a way to remove Blood Sun. And at least this way we can pretend like we've drawn something relevant. Unfortunately, when our opponent starts casting things, he's pretty soon going to find out that that's actually not true. So I feel like... okay, so the other flip side of Blood Sun here is that our opponent's Forbidden Orchards actually stop producing tokens. This is because there's a triggered ability attached to Forbidden Orchard. And because of Blood Sun, that now no longer triggers. Direfleet Daredevil is also interesting here in that it manages to dodge Grafdigger's Cage by exiling the card from our graveyard. And so because the card's in exile and it's cast from exile, Cage no longer does anything. So DT for Ancestral, I think, is our best option here. Unfortunately, our opponent's found the misstep. I don't know if we had a huge amount of other options there that would have done anything for us, just because we're a combination of pinched on mana and we're not filling our graveyard fast enough for the big delve spells like dig. So we need to go for something smaller like Ancestral, which kind of, yeah, it just leaves us with very limited options. Actually, I think I take that back. We should have DT'd for Time Vault. If we DT'd for Time Vault, I think we would have won already. So I think that's twice now we've just straight up missed the line. 3 times now, as we've now cast Yawg's Will straight into a Grafdigger's Cage. And now Grove of the Burn Willows has hit the table. Our opponent is going to be dealing 3 damage to us every turn. So we currently have 4 turns to find a solution to Direfleet Daredevil and Punishing Fire. And unfortunately for us, Grove of the Burn Willows is not turned off by Blood Sun through Grove's ability being a mana ability rather than a trigger. And our opponent missteps our Preordain, which I think means that it's just worth us scooping here. Especially because I think they're now going to manage to ping us for 4 damage. So we might as well just scoop it up. I don't think we actually need to change anything. The Blood Sun's annoying, but not game breaking. It still is Academy active. It shuts off Library, which I guess is slightly annoying. Maybe it's worth trading a fetch land for an island, but I'm not completely convinced on that. I'd rather develop good mana early and then worry about Blood Sun if and when we need to. And I think this is a hand we can keep. We have... Yep, so we've got a fetch land to get probably red. We've got a Mox, we've got a Strip Mine for when they pull anything funny. A Treasure Cruise and a Force of Will to keep us in the game. So we'll cast our Ponder. And I think we want the Time Walk here. We really want to be drawing the Time Walk so that we can drop our Jace onto the board. Because if we draw the Time Walk next turn... Actually, no, I think we can just straight up... Yeah, we can just straight up deploy Jace next turn. So it's possibly better to Strip Mine him instead. Or Time Walk and Strip Mine, sorry. Okay, so now we do need to... Okay, so we're now making him fight over the Jace here. Because he's seen the Strip Mine. He knows he's not drawing more cards off it. We can pitch the Flusterstorm here. Okay, and Jace actually manages to resolve, which is really good news for us. And we find a Library and a Time Walk. So if we can get the Time Walk to stick... then I think it's probably very close to game. Okay, so the Library is now no longer doing anything. I still think that means if we resolve Time Walk here... Alright, so we're going to +1 Jace and we're going to bottom the Pyroblast. We bottom the Pyroblast to protect the Jace and we +1 the Jace to do the same. We don't want to have Jace punishing fight here. I think it's also very likely worth casting Treasure Cruise. Hello, Yawgmoth's will here to ponder, and Time Walk will probably also do a lot of work. Okay, and drawing Ancestral is really nice. I think perhaps we want to dig to begin with. So we're going to dig to get rid of the chaff, and we might dig on... Can we dig now? So I think we can dig in his turn to try to deal with his mana. So actually I think we can dig an A-Call. So if he does anything, we dig, and then if he responds to our dig, then we A-Call. And I don't think we need to... I think we want the... Okay, we kept the cage. There was an argument for Mindbreak Trap as well. I think we're actually... I'd almost be happy to Flusterstorm the Preordain there. But it doesn't matter, our A-Call resolves, so we're just going to win the match.